Manchester United looking to sign Chris Rigg, the Wonderkid from Sunderland. Surgeon Ratcliffe calls out the Manchester United players in the latest interview. And what can we expect from Ruben Amorim as new United boss? These are some of the topics we will be discussing on this morning's live show. But before we get into that, please do me a small favour, smash a like on today's episode. Let's try and see 500 likes on this video. And if this is your first time watching, please also make sure you subscribe to the channel. Right, we're going to start the show off by talking a little bit about the game against Chelsea yesterday. I want you to get in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts on yesterday's game. Obviously, it was a 1-1 draw against Chelsea. Go and get in the comment section now and let me know your thoughts. For me personally, I don't think a draw against Chelsea is a terrible result. The most frustrating thing for me was obviously that we went 1-0 up through the Bruno Fernandes penalty, and then a couple of minutes later, as always, we concede a goal. You know, we managed to go 70 minutes without conceding, and then we score, and then minutes later they score. And that just seems to be something that's happened at Manchester United for years and years and years and years and years. We go 1-0 up, and then we can't see out a game. You know, people used to say, oh, that was Ten Hag's fault. It was Ten Hag's inability to see out a game. And it's interesting to now see that regardless of whether it's Ten Hag managing the team, we still have that same weak mentality where we score a goal and then seconds later we concede a goal. And I think it's going to be one of the most difficult things that Ruben Amorim's going to have to change. Because, you know, if we could change that, it would have been a very different season this year, wouldn't it? There were so many games where we took the lead and then we ended up losing or drawing or, or worse. So, yeah, overall, I'm not massively disappointed with the draw. I think, you know, a point against Chelsea isn't terrible. But when you look at it in the context of the rest of the season and you look at it, the fact that we're still, I think now, 13th, 14th, it's obviously still not good enough. And when you think that we should have picked up probably points against West Ham, we should have picked up points against Crystal Palace in that game that we drew 0-0. The season could have been very, very different, couldn't it? You know, if we'd have beat West Ham, which we should have done, and we'd have beaten Crystal Palace, which we should have done, we'd have currently been sat in joint fourth place, you know? And that's the most frustrating thing for me, because there was a couple of games earlier on in the season, West Ham and Crystal Palace, where we did realistically deserve to win those games. I think we can all agree on that. If you look at the chances we had, like, we deserved to win those games and we didn't, because our strikers seem to be incapable of finishing their chances. And I think that goes across the whole of the front line. You know, Garnacho, so wasteful every single game. I know he does score sometimes, but a lot of the time he'll have 5 or 6 chances in a game and he'll miss all of them. He'll have 5 or 6 chances to pass the ball to someone else who's in a better scoring position and he doesn't do it. I think Rashford, you know what, has actually got a bit better at that. He's still not playing well, but Rashford has got a little bit less greedy and he does actually cross the ball. He does look for other players now, whereas Garnacho has almost turned into what Rashford was like, where he'll get the ball and his only focus is to shoot. And we saw yesterday Casemiro going absolutely crazy at Garnacho because he got the ball, Garnacho. I think he tried to have a shot. The Chelsea player took it off him, and then the Chelsea player nearly ran the whole pitch and scored, and Casemiro had to take the Chelsea player out, and Casemiro was screaming at Garnacho like, what the hell are you doing? And you know what? That's why having players like Casemiro is good in your team, because you have that senior leadership who can look at these players who are younger, who are still growing, and say, you know what? This is not okay. Like, it's just annoying. But hopefully Ruben Amorim comes in and he can change that. Maybe he comes in and he plays Ahmad instead, you know? Because at the moment, you've got to remember, Marcus Rashford's best position is the left wing. And if you want to play Garnacho's now playing on the left wing and Rashford's on the right wing. And I don't think it really works that well. I don't think Rashford is very effective on the right wing, to be honest. I feel like he does look a little bit like he's a player playing out of position. So it'll be interesting to see what Ruben Amorim does. Obviously, it'll be a new formation, new tactics, new ideas, maybe new expectations from the manager. It'll be interesting to see how these players react to that. Will they do the usual where they call them out in the media and say that they don't like the way they're training and they're making me train too hard? Probably, you know, because I imagine Ruben Amorim's going to come in, and because it's midway through a season, we're going to have to work really, really hard to implement his ways quickly. You know, it's not like you have a whole preseason. It's not like you have, months to prepare tactics and patterns of play. Like, we're going to have to hit the ground running immediately, and that's going to be really, really difficult for these players, especially as Erik ten Hag was here for 2.5 years. Erik ten Hag had ideas, he had a way of playing at Ajax, and he couldn't get his team to play his style of football in 2.5 years. And now Ruben Amorim's coming in midway through a season, and some people are expecting him to be playing this 3-4-3 that he's mastered at Sporting Lisbon immediately. Whereas Erik ten Hag took 2.5 years and he still couldn't get these players to play the way he wanted. So it's a difficult one. And I think that this little quote that I got from Sir Jim Ratcliffe from a video that was posted last night, he was being interviewed at it was some sailing competition. Obviously Ineos have boats and they're interested in sailing. And the interviewer asks him, like, how can you compare sailing to football or to Manchester United? And he said the only real comparison, he said, if you don't have the best boat, you're not going to win the competition. And he said, it's the same for football. We don't have the best squad, so we don't expect to win. And that really, really stood out for me, because there's a lot of people in this fan base who are like, oh, Man United should be challenging. We should be at the top. But then you've got the actual owner of Manchester United, Jim Ratcliffe, coming out saying that you can't expect this team to win because the squad isn't good enough, which I thought was absolutely crazy. And I thought, if I was one of those Manchester United players and I saw this interview, I'd be like, it's almost as bad as when Erik ten Hag said that we can't win the league at the beginning of the season, and everyone was like slating into him, saying, how can the Manchester United manager be writing off the season? It's a disgrace. Well, the owner of the football club's just said that his squad can't win anything either. So it's quite interesting to see, but it's all good and well, Jim Ratcliffe saying things like that, but if he can see that this squad isn't good enough, then he needs to make a change. He needs to do something different. He needs to get some of these players out who've been here for too long. The people like Luke Shaw, who've been, let's be honest, stealing a living for the last decade. A number of other players who are surplus to requirements. Anthony's another one, probably Lindelof. Some would say Rashford. So, there's all these names, and everyone has an opinion on every different one of those players. But the fact of the matter is, this same squad have been here for quite a long time. Quite a few of the players, the Maguires, Lindelofs, obviously Luke Shaw. You know who the players are who've been here for 3 or 4 managers. Some might even say Bruno. And if he's saying that he doesn't think the squad's good enough to challenge, then as the Manchester United owner, him, Dan Ashworth, Omar Barada, etc., their job is to transform this squad into a team that they then feel confident should be challenging. Because at the moment, the owners of our football club have effectively said that they don't see the team as a team that can challenge. And I would agree with that. But I know some people in the fan base are like, oh, we have an amazing team. Like, it was Erik ten Hag's fault. We should be winning the league. Like, and I was always a little bit like, I don't think the squad we have is good enough to compete with the likes of Man City, Liverpool, etc. Mainly those two, isn't it? Man City and Liverpool squads are really, really strong. And obviously, Arne Slot's come into Liverpool and has hit the ground running, but their team is levels above us. Their squad depth is levels above us. They've got, people like Salah, Van Dijk, all of these seasoned professionals, Alisson, whereas we've kind of got a team of up-and-coming players or players who think they're better than they are. But it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on this. We've got a super chat coming in from Dying Sham. Hope you're doing well. He is saying that he is fed up with these players and their attitudes on the pitch. Yeah, I hear you. I agree. Terso says the way that Bruno Fernandes loses possession is terrible. Yeah. What else have we got here? Fred says, I think another clear out is on the way. Yeah, I think it is as well, mate. I think, another clear out is definitely needed. Terence says, who are they going to blame now? Ten Hag is gone. I said this on my match reaction last night, nothing has changed. And Erik ten Hag's gone and nothing has changed. We still play the same. We still can't score goals. There's still a weak mentality. Yes, they look a little bit more positive, mentally. But other than that, it's the same, isn't it? So Ruben Amorim's got a huge job. And the one thing I will say, and I keep saying this and I'm going to keep repeating it, is you've got to give Ruben Amorim time. As I said a couple of minutes ago, Erik ten Hag was here for 2.5 years. He played beautiful football at Ajax. He had a style of play. he comes to Manchester United, and in 2.5 years, he can't get this set of players to play that style of play, So, we can all say that Ruben Amorim does really well at Sporting, and he plays nice football at Sporting. But lots of managers have come to Manchester United with a certain style of play, tried to implement it, and it's failed, or they haven't been able to. The players don't buy into it, and then they get sacked. So, yeah, we've got to be cautious of that. We've got to be aware of that. If these players continue to not perform and continue to not succeed, the finger needs to be pointed at the players, not at the manager. I appreciate that you can't sack a 20-man squad of players, and I appreciate that in the grand scheme of things, sacking a manager is always the easiest way to hope for change and to hope for a change of form and all the rest of it. But in this exact situation now, we know that Ruben Amorim's coming in with a new style of play, new tactics, new ideas, and we just have to hope that these players can adapt and play to this style of football. That's the thing. Because even in the game last night, Man United don't have patterns of play. We don't have like certain ideas that we do each game. It's just literally like 50-50 what you're going to get. You have no idea what to expect when you watch Manchester United, and it's been the same for years and years, isn't it? Whereas even like bottom half Premier League teams, teams at the very bottom, if you play an Everton or you play an Ipswich or Crystal Palace, you know what you're going to get. You know what to expect. You know what style of play they're going to do. You know what patterns of play they're going to do. Whereas at Man United, you just don't. Hopefully that can change though. Welcome to Prince Bot, who's just joined the Daily Red Devil Members Club. Thank you very much for your support, my friend. I hope you are doing well. If you want to join the Members Club, I'm going to drop a link into the chat to do that now. Everyone is welcome. Make sure you get involved if you haven't already. I've just dropped a link into the chat. And if you have just joined the video, please make sure to drop a like. Let's try and hit 500 likes on today's episode. And also make sure you subscribe as well. It doesn't cost any money. It's completely free. Go and subscribe right now. Okay, let's move on to Chris Rigg, a player I really like. Obviously plays football for Sunderland at the moment. And the news this morning is that apparently Manchester United want to try and sign Chris Rigg as kind of the new Wonderkid to be brought through. Now, do I think this will happen? Maybe. I think there's a strong chance. I mean, it's being widely reported in the media this morning. Most big outlets are posting stories saying that apparently Manchester United are planning to sign Chris Rigg in the January transfer window because they see the potential in him. They want to develop him. Only 17 years of age. I think that'd be great. He's a really, really good player. Obviously plays in midfield. Our midfield desperately needs to be revamped. Casemiro is probably going to leave in the summer, I imagine. And the fact that in yesterday's game, right, the only midfield option we had was to bring on Lindelof in midfield. That was all we could do. We've got no squad depth. I think Eriksen's injured. Mainoo's injured. Obviously, McTominay's gone. Amrabat's gone. Hannibal Mejbri's gone. Like, our midfield is so weak. Yes, we bought Manuel Ugarte, but we also lost Amrabat. We also lost McTominay. We also lost Hannibal Mejbri. And you could actually argue that our midfield now is weaker than it was last season. I mean, it's not really even an argument. It's a fact. You sign one midfielder in Manuel Ugarte, who's taken a long time to kind of settle in, and you sell three midfielders. You sell Amrabat, Hannibal Mejbri, and who was the other one I forgot to mention? Scott McTominay. So you get rid of three midfielders in an area where we already were suffering really badly, and you only bring in one. So, I mean, technically on paper, our midfield is weaker than it was last season. And then as soon as you start getting some injuries, with Eriksen and Mainoo injured, our only midfielders are literally Casemiro and Ugarte. And we always play two midfielders every game, or two deep-lying midfielders, whatever you want to call them. So, yeah, it's definitely a cause for concern, I think. And, bringing in someone like Chris Rigg would be very clever business. He's someone who in the future is obviously going to be worth a lot of money. Someone will buy him, whether it's Manchester United or not, remains to be seen. But for me personally, if we could get him, if we could bring him in now, I would definitely do it. Even if it was like we signed him now and we loaned him out to Sunderland for another season, just get the deal done. We need to really, really revamp that midfield because at the moment it's weak, I think. Even on a level of when our best players are available, I still think it's quite weak. And obviously, yeah, I think someone like Chris Rigg would be really, really good. Sunderland are having an amazing start to the season as well, by the way. They're top of the championship on 29 points. So I think the most likely thing here would be that he would want to stay at Sunderland until next season. So maybe we buy him in January and then loan him back to Sunderland for another season, or maybe even 2 seasons. So yeah, I would be up for it, but I'd be interested to get your thoughts on Chris Rigg. I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. I feel like this is a good point to end today's show. Please make sure to drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a lovely day, everybody. I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.